Yeah, Brad, I'm curious, have you had an offense that's been this run heavy before that you've been around? And when did you kind of realize that you guys had the horses to run like this the way that you have this year?
It's been a few years, but we have kind of been in this mode before, and I tell you, every year's different. Sometimes within each season it changes, but going into the year, I mean, we knew what we had up front. The depth and talent, some experience finally. So we knew we were going to have a chance. We had a lot of question marks at the tailback spot. We knew we had some depth at tight end also. So certainly felt like we had a chance to run the ball. We have 3 quarterbacks that can run the ball. I mean, you factor all those things in. You have guys on the outside that can make plays and win to keep defenses a little bit honest. So there was definitely the ingredients there to have a chance to run the ball effectively.
Are there challenges when you're that run heavy? I mean, do you almost kind of fall into a complacency sometimes? You can run the ball that well, remind yourself, we can pass it sometimes too.
Oh, within certain games, last week you kind of jump out to a big lead. You do hand the ball off to the tailback and repeatedly pop it out. There is a little bit of an element there of that's a high percentage play. Not a whole lot of things can go wrong when you're doing that. So it does factor into it. I like the guys that we have that can make plays. We got to continue to be creative and find ways to spread the ball around because the key has always been balance, and so that'll be our mission, our goal going into each week as a game plan and trying to get that accomplished on game day.
Mike Barber. Brad, what can you tell me about the development for Luke Tenuta, kind of how he's emerged and what he's done well?
He's been fantastic. When he showed up, he was we knew he was a giant, but really his physical development, his strength, the weight, the size that he's put on, and he's been able to, when we first started recruiting him, I mean, I don't know how much he weighed, 250, maybe less, and so he was able to keep some of that quickness and athleticism that he had at that weight as he has developed strength and size, and so he's got those qualities that physically he's developed into that makes him a good player. But he's an intelligent player. He's smart. He's tough. Those ingredients that you have to have as an offensive lineman, just to be there every day and be tough enough to play that position and smart enough to know how to find angles and block schemes. He has those too. So. He's still, the sky's the limit for him. He's still got a long ways he can go, and but we've been really pleased with him so far.
His dad has such a big personality. He's intense, but he's also kind of a character. What's Luke's personality like?
I would say not quite like that. What you explained, yet, or at least not around me or around probably most of the coaches, but. He's that whole unit, that whole group. I mean, they're a pretty neat bunch, and going back to my days as a player, like I know there's a lot more conversation and joking and personality that goes on in the locker room and at the dorm room and not around the coaches. So I'm guessing he's a pretty neat kid and has a little bit more of that when he's not around us, I would guess.
Thank you.
Mike Nisley. Yeah, Brad, how impressed have you been with what Hendon's been able to do? I know you struggled against Wake a little bit, but with what he went through in September, missing practice and then having to how have you felt he's performed kind of this season?
Good. I mean, he certainly there's been some ups and downs, but that comes with the position a little bit. But he continues to compete. It's what he brought I think, to us last year the most was just, he got out there and competed, and the element that he adds, kind of that X factor with his athleticism and carrying the ball and breaking tackles and, scrambling out of the pocket when things break down and breaking one tackle. And, he's continued to do that, which is huge, and so it's been a crazy, year for him and for all of us. And so those ups and downs are there, but he just, he continues to show up and try to get better every day, and that's what all those guys are doing and got to continue to do.
And with the running game, how much has Adam Lechtenberger helped kind of in that process, and what was his role in trying to, things he's brought to the table to kind of help you and support that position of the running back?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I mean, you got the element off the field in the game planning. I mean, he's coached a little bit of everything through the years, and with all that experience, just the ideas and helping generate things in the game plan for the run game has been huge. And then he's just done a great job, teaching those guys about the game and maybe giving them a little piece of the whole concept of what's going on that might slow the game down for them just a little bit, or might help them make a little bit better decision because of a pre-snap look, and little things like that. He's relentless. I mean, he's that way as a recruiter and as a coach, and everything that he does within this program and with those kids, he's a tireless worker, and he's relentless and just always coaching. And I think that probably is the thing that stands out for me.
Thanks.
Wes?
Brett, I was a question more so about the quarterbacks, but across the board with offense. Are there techniques and there's certain things, practices that you use to mentally challenge the guys away from the field, and especially with Hendon, how the way he is with the ball, his discipline, how smart he is with the ball, and what are some tactics that you use to mentally challenge your offensive guys?
Oh, that's a good question. There's so much once you get into the season, it feels like there's so little time and so much to get in with your new game plan. Certainly the general concepts don't always change a whole lot, but when you're talking about the individual game plan and the plays within each formation against the different looks that you're going to see every week, that's the majority of it. And it's position by position. It's each position coach finding out the best way for them. We don't have a whole lot of time with these guys, and so when we get our time before practice to meet with them, I mean, we're trying to get them ready to go have a chance to execute the plays that we've put in. You're talking about the Tuesday practice and then the Wednesday practice. Those 2 days move so fast, and it's kind of a crash course of getting those guys ready to just go have a chance to know what they're doing at practice. Later in the week is when you kind of have a chance to slow it down, show them more of the looks on the film. Now they do have an idea of what we have in, what the package is. For me personally, with the quarterbacks, that's the process. It's let's figure out what we're going against early in the week. Let's learn the plays, know what we're doing on our assignment, so we can go practice, get this stuff on film, get it taught for 2 days. Then Thursday, Friday, game day is let's tie it all together. Let's start fine-tuning the details of the safety looks and what we have in each formation and what we think we're going to get, and that I think each coach is probably a little bit different in how they approach it.
Well, thank you. Andy?
Yeah, Brad, I would imagine you guys were excited about Khalil Herbert in the offseason. Has he been even maybe a little bit better than you expected out there on the field?
Yeah, I mean, he's been incredibly productive. He's a unique runner, I think. To me, anyway, it never looks like he's he always kind of looks like he's in the same pace, in the same mode, but he's just so strong. That's the thing that kind of stands out for me is how many times a defender has had him in position to make a tackle, and whether it's a stiff arm or he just kind of running through an arm tackle, how many of those guys have just kind of fallen off of him. And he's a smart player. He's a reliable player. So I think his speed and quickness is a little bit deceiving. It just doesn't look like he's overly straining to sprint or change directions. So I think it's a little deceiving in that. And then just the way his body is made up, he's such a strong lower body, upper body. He's a mature kid that's been in college for a while and has developed his body. So I think he's a little deceiving from that standpoint.
And I know Blackshear was limited a little bit earlier this year. Are you still trying to figure out the best way to use him and get him incorporated? Is there still a bit of a feeling out process there?
Yeah, no question. And he's shown us a lot of different things that we like, and that's always a little bit harder to do in a game of finding the exact, it's not just as easy as drawing up a play and saying we're going to throw it to this guy. The defense has a little bit to say with that too. So, but yeah, certainly he's been so valuable in, he's given us some added depth at a lot of different positions, along with being a guy that we're trying to get the ball in his hands because he can make a big play any moment. So it's a continual process, and I know he hasn't gotten the ball as much as he would like to, and we haven't been able to get him the ball as much as we would like to. So it's a continued process, and it's not going to be something that you just snap your fingers and it happens, and it'll be just something we're going to continue to work at, and he's because he is doing a lot of different things, he's still learning the intricacies of those 2-3 different positions that he kind of has to learn.
A couple more, Mike Nisley. Yeah, right now with the receivers, you got Trey and Tavion, and they've been pretty productive, and obviously there's been tons of opportunities in certain games, but those other receivers, Coach Fuente said you're still working them along, but how tough has been trying to get them ready, and they haven't seen the field very much. Some of those other guys, are you still anxious to get them more involved?
Yeah, Caleb Smith has been the steady guy that's, really hasn't, I don't know if he's missed any practice, hardly. He's just a tough, reliable guy that keeps getting better. I think it's just kind of a matter of time when those, and he's already, he's made some plays already for us this year. But, like you said, like the way some of the games have gone, the way we've run the ball, we've gotten a couple of leads in games, so those things play a factor into it. But yeah, certainly those guys between Evan Fairs and Shanga Hodge and a couple of the young guys, Daryl and Ebo, those guys, they get plenty of work and plenty of reps in practice, and they're coming along, and they just got to stay the course because it's their number's going to be called at some point, and they got to be ready to go.
I was curious, when you go back a couple weeks to the Wake Forest game, you guys had those red zone struggles. When you rewatched that, what did you kind of think about your own approach? Did you think that you missed some calls, like you should have done some things differently? How do you kind of look at yourself when last week against Louisville, scored points every possession you had in the second half. Mm-hmm. But when things don't go that way, how do you kind of evaluate yourself, and what's that process like?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's several calls I wish I'd have had back in that game. I think about the one interception with Hendon before half, that that wasn't a bad decision on his part. I don't think it was maybe just a hair off, and it got tipped, and the guy was in the right place at the right time. That happens when you throw the ball and when you play this position, and when you call a pass. Like, that's going to happen sometimes. But there's certainly there was certainly a few calls there in the red zone that I wish I would have had back, and sometimes it comes down to execution, but I mean, as the play caller, I'm trying to predict what is going to happen on defense, and I'm trying to get our guys in the best possible position to make plays and trying to make it the easiest on them to execute. So, yeah, it's something us as an offensive staff, when we're rewatching it, when it happens during the game, I mean, those conversations are constant, and there's always a couple that I wish I would have had back, and on the other side of the coin, there's times when I wish I would have had the call back and it actually was a touchdown, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. But being able to run the ball when you get down in there in the red zone, having quarterbacks that can run the ball help, having guys that can win on the outside to throw those one-on-one 50-50 balls into the end zone. I mean, all those things come into play, and then you factor in how's the defense trying to play you. All those things come into play, and you look at it and go on to the next week. Keep some of those things in mind, and go prepare. Get your game plan, what you like down there. Go prepare and cut it loose and make the calls that you feel the best about, and go let the guys play ball.
You mentioned getting creative. Is it sometimes we got to pull back from that though a little bit? I mean, how do you have to balance that? Because you guys do motions, personnel changes. Sometimes you just have to pull back at times. Is that a balance? How do you approach
Yeah, you do. You do. Some things can look maybe like we're doing a lot or complicated, and they're not. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, but there really at every position, offense, defense, special teams, there's always that balance of, you want to be creative enough to hopefully give your guys a little bit of an edge, but you don't want it to take away from the execution and their ability to play fast. So it's definitely always at the forefront of the decisions that you make in the game planning.
Mike Barber?
Yeah, Brad, I'm curious, just the relationship for you with Justin Hamilton. You've been working with him for a little while. I know it's a new role, but what's he like to be on the staff with?
Oh, he's fantastic. I mean, he's one of those guys that doesn't take long when you're around him and just getting to know him to realize what you got, and so when he first started here, the role that he was in till now, I mean, he's the same guy. There's no job too small for him. He's a team guy. It's there is times during fall camp or today, tomorrow in practice that we're trying to get a certain look, and being able to work together like that is critical, and he gets it. I mean, he's a team first guy, and he gets it, and the kids love him, and he's sharp, and they got a good staff over there. He's been unbelievable.
You guys were all under so much stress and pressure, obviously losing spring and all the uncertainty with COVID. For Justin, first time as a coordinator, how's he handled that, and then having a baby in the middle of it?
Oh, a lot. I think a lot better than any of us would have. There's no doubt. I mean, I can't imagine. I think back to when Coach Fuente kind of gave me a chance to call plays that last year at Memphis, and it was kind of the opposite. Everything was perfectly aligned, and it's still, it's still tough and challenging, and it's your first time and all that. So, I mean, it's remarkable, kind of the composure that he's had through it all, and his positivity and the whole works.